Alright guys, Suchgrubber here, back again today, and now it's the weekend and Christmas is approaching in just a couple of weeks time, which means we are not too many weeks away from the beginning of the CDL 2020 season for the Modern Warfare game, of course. Now this past weekend, or the last few days, not the past weekend, we've had this player summit in Los Angeles. A lot of players, a lot of casters, a lot of personalities within the community have been at this event and have been receiving, maybe, hopefully they've been taking on feedback throughout the game, as we saw Scraps talk about yesterday. And when I went through that tweet right at the end of yesterday's video, to do with bows, and we'll get into the bows thing in just a second here, but yeah, when I went through that tweet, I was like, who knows whether Activision is telling the pros, okay, let's calm down on the Twitter, not necessarily the beef, but talking negatively about the game, and maybe tone it down a little bit, and especially I imagine when the league begins, then it will really kick in. So today I wanted to talk about the Twitter crackdown that I expect to happen over the next couple of months, and maybe you guys think it's fair enough, maybe you guys think it isn't. I do overall think that, the drama and the kind of things we've had on Twitter is beneficial for the scene. It makes things more entertaining. Of course, I'm biased in my perspective because I can make videos on these things. If they don't exist, then what is there to talk about? But yeah, that's what I wanted to get into today. I'm sure you guys will leave your thoughts down below. And we have some couple of things that went back and forth on Twitter that kind of imply that maybe it's coming, maybe it isn't. You guys can make up your minds. So if you guys enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. And first of all, thanks to Vibe Bring a Sweet for pointing this out to me yesterday. We looked at that picture of Embo's, whether he was in fact wearing the Chicago Huntsmen jersey. We showed in that it looked like there were some green pixels, but it also looked like there was a quite distinctive white line across the top. So this may well have been the hoodie, as this guy points out to me here. So yeah, this may have been the one, which wouldn't be a Chicago Huntsman hoodie, which would in that case mean that maybe he's not on that team, maybe he still is. But just to bring that up in case you guys were delving into yesterday's video in great detail. So here we go then. Let's continue onwards. UYU welcome Ruiz to the team. So of course, Tish has gone over to the Dallas Empire. We talked about that yesterday, and we said that Ruiz was most likely to be replacing him. Since yesterday's video has come out, of course, Ruiz is since been confirmed. Let's move onwards then. Profis was dropped from his team. Let's hope these things actually load today. I'll just make sure these all load. There we go. That's more like it. I'm getting a lot of DMs from people asking what happened to my past team. So I believe he was on Parasite's team. To be honest, I messed up. I played poorly in the last 2K, followed by a bad week of practice, so they dropped me. Never been dropped before. I do feel awful, but I think I needed this. We weren't grinding as one, and this is honestly a fantastic mentality from Profis that's quite impressive. Usually when someone gets dropped, they come out on Twitter and say, oh no, my past team, like, they did XYZ, it wasn't my fault, kind of thing. This is a very mature view from Profis, really looking back at the mistakes that he made and saying, okay, well, how can I improve myself going forwards in future teams? This is a very professional mentality. Very impressed by it, but at the end of the day, he got dropped from a very solid team. We'll have to see where he ends up next. And this is the tweet from CDL Intel saying that ProLoot apparently is going to be the guy they're picking up to replace him. I haven't heard of this guy before. If you guys have, let me know if you guys think he's a pretty upcoming talent. But yeah, once again, very impressed by this response by Profis. But we'll have to see how this team goes forward. Clearly, they think this guy's a pretty damn good talent. So yeah, let's move onwards here. This is what I mainly wanted to talk about for the rest of today's video then. Very interesting. Looks like media training went well today, says, of course, Crone at CDL Intel. And these are the tweets that came out. So, Money Cheen, Trey, Accuracy, Attach, Sensor, JCap. I think the Dashi TJ tweeted the same thing. So, a lot of tweets came out exactly like this. I love Modern Warfare with the thumbs up. It's just a funny way to put it. And I'm pretty sure that what the pros are doing here is they're making a jab. They're making a bit of fun at, not necessarily at Activision, but at the community for expecting Activision to be cracking down hard on the things they say on Twitter. Now, I think that they probably will do this to some degree, but I don't think that this is evidence of that in motion. As you can see, this is what Crone tweets out, 7 PM media training, so who knows, following the media training, they did tweets like this, but this seems, obviously, it's almost too good to be true if you're trying to look for a story here, right? So attaches, I went to the COD League social media training, so I cannot reply to this, but, and we'll go into a second, talk about the whole the drama in the scene and the issues that this might create for that, because as I said, now you're in the CDL, Activision are paying you a lot of money, or at least they've organised this league too, so you are getting paid a lot of money. They expect you to be a representative of the CDL, not just of yourself and your organisation. You're a representative of the entire league. If you say something against another player, or you start piping up on Twitter, as we've seen again and again and again, that's not going to be tolerated by the CDL, and nor probably will it be by the organisations. We've seen that's what happened with Mutex, right? Della Senpai got rid of Mutex after he said those things on stream that were maybe unintentional. Who knows whether that was because the CDL, unlikely in this case, but in future potentially, the CDL could reach out to the organisation and say, look, are you sure you really want to be promoting this guy that he said these things on stream? He's a representative of us, he's a representative of you, let's get him out the league. That's something that might happen, and pros have to be more careful, because Call of Duty is probably the most... probably is the biggest esport on social media, I would say, especially on Twitter. The pros have a stupid amount of followers, and a large amount of that is because over the past several years, it's been a very entertaining scene to be a part of on Twitter, and this tweet from Attach maybe points towards a direction in the future where we're not going to have that, which I do think is disappointing if that is the case, but of course we haven't found anything quite yet. So Caesar Skies even tweets the same thing. I love Modern Warfare, thumbs up, blink twice if you're forcing you to make this tweet, and he does this Twitter video. So obviously I think the pros are just having a little bit of fun and games here, but maybe based on what they've said in their media presence. So Richard Lewis interprets it as follows. Now, I don't know, Richard Lewis, of course, a very, very reputable esports journalist, one esports journalist of the year. He's, interpreting this in the sense of, welcome to the glorious world of developer-owned franchise league, where the players have to get to have diverse opinions about the developers' products. I do think Richard Lewis is on the right lines here. I just don't think that this tweet is an example of that, and we'll go on to exactly why in just a couple of seconds. A couple of tweets in reply to this that kind of say that it's just the pros having a bit of fun, but I do think that the media training probably did cotton onto these ideas. Maybe they said, all right, for the next month, guys, calm it down. Don't tweet out overly negative stuff about the game. If you want stuff fixed, then tweet it out in a constructive manner, kind of what like Parasite has started to do with some of the developers on Twitter, and then go through some official channels, whatever may exist, but even though we've heard that maybe those channels don't actually really exist in the real world. But yeah, let's have a look at these couple of tweets then. So in reply to this, JCap gets added in it, and JCap says, it was just a bunch of us at dinner deciding to BS and have some fun. Twitter really looked too deep into this one. Reply, can't really blame people, even though it was clearly a coordinated gag. When we exist in a gaming ecosystem where game development companies throw money at streamers to play their games, and in many cases prohibit pro players from speaking freely and honestly. And, as far as I understand, that is the case in the Overwatch League. The same thing exists. There is a crackdown on what people can say on Twitter, and Activision Blizzard, of course, own the Overwatch League. I would expect the same thing to happen in the Call of Duty League in the upcoming season. But, who knows? Maybe Activision Blizzard are looking at a different perspective here. We have heard, of course, the Atlanta FaZe team. We didn't think that OpTic Gaming and FaZe Clan were going to be able to retain their branding for the upcoming season. But Activision Blizzard probably looked at, OpTic and FaZe and said, damn, if we don't allow them to keep their brands in the season for this, the upcoming league, we really might lose out on a lot of Call of Duty viewers, because that's how COD's been for the entire season. So clearly they made a concession to say that, okay, OpTic Gaming can keep their branding, even though you have to get rid of all your other teams, but FaZe have kept their other teams and still managed to get the branding. So they've managed to finesse it on a big way, and probably that means Activision Blizzard have, stepped back a few steps in terms of what they're willing to do. Maybe they will also realize that, look, the Twitter ecosystem is a real lifeblood of Call of Duty esports. Maybe we shouldn't crack down on it as much as we are for other esports, just to maintain that community cohesion. Maybe there's people at Activision that actually understand this. I hope there is, for the sake of the entertainment within our community. That's one of the reasons I love Call of Duty, and I love following it from a competitive standpoint. It's the entertainment on Twitter. The game may not be in the best state right now. It may not always be the most entertaining. We may not have the best season structure in terms of events, maybe a few and far between, but at least the Twitter ecosystem is very entertaining, and the rivalries between players is always spurred on by that. If we don't have that for the upcoming season, I think that would be a big loss, and I hope there are people at Activision Blizzard that understand this and are happy to maybe take the foot off the gas a little bit in terms of cracking down on in the Twitter sphere. Whether that will happen, who knows, but I do think this is a coordinated gag by the pros. pros. And as Clayster says here on the Reddit, then, can someone explain what's going on? Activision or IW said pros need to be positive or fines are coming. Just a theory. Of course, this is Reddit, so this gets a massive upvotes, even though this, maybe it is true. And of course, it's a very easy thing to believe. But then Clayster comes back and says this wasn't said, lol, and kind of related to where JCap talked about Clayster manipulating the subreddit. So a couple of comments then from the from Reddit before we finish the video for today. Drama was one of the things that kept the community going during dull periods. Now we have a dull game without the personalities we love and love to hate. Screw the suits and judge this. They have no idea our community isn't big enough to survive on the game being good alone. Not that the game is even good enough to begin with. I am inclined to agree with this. Of course, I'm an OG in the community. I guess you might think from a more maturity and a competitive standpoint, if you want the league to be dominant in terms of, Joanna Ferries has been talking about, we want Call of Duty League to be competing with the NFLs, the NBAs, in a few years we want esports to be a path that kids, instead of wanting to be the best basketball player, they want to be the best Call of Duty player, right? That's, I think, pretty ambitious, but I like the ambition in that sense. If you want to go down that route, I guess you do have to cut down and cut back on these kind of dramas. However, in the short term, I'm not sure this is really the play. As For the Watch says here, I'm not really sure Call of Duty is in a position to maintain the ecosystem we currently have with just the game and people coming in from that avenue. It'd be nice if that was the case, but I don't think that that's really what brings people into Call of Duty. The reason why Black Ops 2 was so successful is partly because the game was great, but also because you had so much drama and rivalries and a lot of immature kids, to be honest, professional Call of Duty players talking trash on each other. That was a very entertaining aspect of it. As that died out, I think a lot of individuals maybe moved away from Call of Duty and onto things that had more drama and more things to help spice up their weekend. So a final little comment here, and I'm sure you guys will leave your thoughts down below on this one. It's very interesting. Give me back the 2013, 2014 MLG days over any of this. I agree, but stuff like this doesn't last if you actually want real money in the scene. These guys wouldn't be pros anymore if they were still making like it did back then. And I kind of see his point on Stephen A. Smith here, talking about, yes, hot takes still exist in other ecosystems and other esports and other sports, of course, in Stephen A. Smith's case. And people do love the trash talk and the hot takes. And maybe Activision, as I say, will look at this in a different light as a result of that. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new as always. Leave all your thoughts down below. I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks for watching as always. I will see you next time.
Why stop shooting, dude? What?
Went to steps heady. I see him. Stop steps.
Free cash. Eddie Rex. Probably won't even check.
Oh my god. No way.
No
It was